Okay, Leta, introduce the podcast today.
That's human. We have us to the right podcast.
That's human. That is her introduction right now, Michelle. I'm human. You're human. Hi, Michelle. It's not like you haven't been on the podcast a gazillion times.
No.
And I was like, hey, we're interviewing Miss Michelle today. And she's like, are we going to interview or are we going to chit chat?
We did, and we already got done chit chatting. So now it's time for recording. It's time for recording.
It is time for recording.
Started already. Intro started already.
Do you miss the times where she wasn't chatting when you...
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that the first couple that we recorded, she wasn't saying much. And when she did say something, it was like, and then you could not, you know, and now she has hand movements and hair flipping everywhere, right? And the Miss Attitude teenager over there. That's what we're getting now. So she's getting comfortable.
Oh, that can be arranged. Michelle, welcome back to the podcast. In case someone is brand new and just stumbling on the podcast, you know me, I cannot introduce, or we get tagged as I am AI introducing our guest. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Of course. So I'm Michelle Choairy, and yes, I think that I've been here, is it 5 or 6 now? I don't know how many times. It makes me wonder what Leta and Amanda have in their minds to keep bringing me back. But I am a mom of what I call a complex kiddo. And I am now starting my big business, which is now going to be called Special Education Concierge. And it's by Wisdom for Complex Kids. I'm keeping the name because complex kids is where all of this started. And so I'm very grateful for the journey that I've gotten to this point. But yeah, we are like a big advocacy program where there's different levels. I can do it all for you. I can be your care coordinator. I will take care of everything. We also have all the way down to our Thrive program, which is my signature program for parents with complex kids. And we've talked about the Thrive many times here on the podcast.
Yes, we are going to link those in the description below. Leta seems... I forgot to plug in her laptop. That is the insanity going on over there.
Okay. All right. Well, technical difficulties happen all the time.
It is, while we're recording this, the first week of Colorado Gives. It's a soft launch. So all technical difficulties are happening this week. We brought you on the show today specifically to talk about the advocacy, because we have brought you on the Thrive, but the advocacy is something I think a lot of parents don't know about. They're not aware of what an advocate can do. We both are in the world. You're in a much more fun part of the world, I think, because you get to deal with it before it becomes a huge problem. I'm at it when it's true. Like, how many of you messed up? Okay, sit down, shut up. Let me tell you how we're doing this.
Amanda is the fixer. Like, she comes at the end and she just grabs like that mess that has become this IEP. And then she's like, okay, I'm doing my magic and I'm going to put everything where it needs to go. So,
I mean, her Hogwarts house is Gryffindor. Human being who would like to ignore the fact that it's Gryffindor, even though we all see Gryffindor.
I wanted it to be Slytherin because almost all of my friends in politics, they're in Slytherin, and then I get Gryffindor.
Well, I got Hufflepuff, and I wanted Hufflepuff, so...
How do you know? How do you get these? Where do I go? I don't know what I am.
So, for a while, you could do it on the website, but I got mine from Miss Jo.
The book, so... I'm sorry to think Gryffindor was made after my mother.
So I have been told I cannot go onto the quiz and bomb the quiz just to get additions. I guess you are what you are told when Miss Jo goes, nope, I'm sorting hat you.
What's he get anyway?
Oh my gosh.
But
so they haven't watched 6 or 7 because those are the really scary ones. I remember watching it and I was like, ooh, like that feeling of scare, you know. So anyway, here we are talking about advocacy and Harry Potter and sorting
They needed
hats.
an advocate with certain professor or headmistresses during that book 5.
Oh, and don't forget Hermione. Also, the fact Harry was annoying. I'm pretty sure he should have been expelled from Wizarding altogether. I hate Harry.
She has opinions. No, she actually dressed up as Hermione a couple of years in a row. And I have totally made the costume from scratch. But back to advocacy, because we talked beforehand. I know, it's crazy, but we actually...
I have to make us go down a rabbit hole once in a while. I can't let you handle that rabbit hole fun.
She used to not talk for people who are...
I know. Go back to the first episode that I was on.
Oh, yeah. On advocacy, there are a lot of parents who don't know what an advocate is and what an advocate can do. With your advocacy, because obviously we're at 2 separate deals, because you don't go in and start yelling at people right away.
I'm the nice one.
By the time it gets to me, I'm like, you've had to talk to a congressman and they've had to fail at it and it's had to get to my desk. So do you know how many government levels we have involved now?
Yes, for sure.
Is an actual advocate and not, hi, I'm representing the entire U.S. Congress advocacy all about. She's laughing in the background because by the time it gets to my desk, I've had, especially this year with all the school districts and states going, you can't have digital stuff in class, the number of ACCs that I have seen where they're like, oh, we're taking away the ACC in their IEP. Oh, no, you're not. Or, because, I mean, Leta's autistic, so this podcast is about autism. I'm autistic. It's about autism, but I get to do it across the board like you do. I have seen so many IEPs in the last 2 years where parents are going, hi, they told me that my child can't have their cell phone that controls their pump for their insulin.
You told me I was 3.
Your IEP. You don't have an IEP because I desperately did not
I
want
meant
you
for
to
the
have
whole
an IEP.
about thing. For people who have type 1 diabetes, because every single human being child in school with medical issues. And children who can't speak that little computer to speak. And the buttons.
But the number of parents who have come to me going, well, the teacher said this counts as an electronic. And I'm like,
Yeah.
the bad guys.
I don't, and I'll be honest with you, Amanda, like, I don't even think that the teachers know what's right and what's wrong. I don't think that they know the law. And that is, I think, probably one of the worst things is that, you know, they go to school to become teachers and then they get specialized in special education. So they're going to go and they're going to do extra things to become a special education teacher. Then some of them become administrators. Some of them don't. Some of the administrators come from somewhere else and they get put into the special education world. But let's be honest, unless you study, unless you know what the law is, you're not going to be able to help somebody. And a lot of times these IEPs are written really just to fail the kids because they put no effort into it. They don't even know how, I'll tell you this.
I think they go to chat GPT sometimes.
Yes. But you know what? If you know how to go to chat GPT and actually ask it the right way, you might actually get a good answer. But most of the time, they don't even know what the questions are.
And you brought up a point because you're in California. So I think in certain school districts, it's mandatory, but not all, that you have to have that special ed. In all 50 states, it is not a requirement for your child special ed teacher to have any special ed training.
It's off.
So
It's just
you're talking,
so wrong.
And I will sit there and go, hi, don't know if you're aware of this. And they're like, oh, I've never heard of that. I've left IEP meetings. The one we did with her, where her Montessori preschool teacher was in there. Her Montessori preschool teacher left and went, how much training do they have? Because she thought they had a lot of training. And I went, Oh, in the state of Florida, the head of the sped department here has had zero training in special ed, and not a single one of the teachers in this district has had more than 2 weeks of training in special ed.
It's awful. And how are you supposed to write an IEP for a child when you don't have any kind of training on it?
Well, and like you said, when she was doing her IEP, there are 2 different versions of autism, which is always fun because parents don't know this, and I don't think teachers know this. We have the educational autism and the medical autism. The schools do not have to accept the medical diagnosis. It is the
Correct.
only one where they do not have to accept the medical diagnosis because she couldn't speak. The school system refused to acknowledge that she was autistic.
Then they put them in speech and language, right? Under speech and language
no.
sometimes. No,
She
what did they
was given.
Uh-oh.
No, I just said turn it on. Did you want me to turn it on? Well, I badly want to bring up that one fun story about my teacher from that school. Yeah,
We're not doing that.
The story.
Turn off your mic before you bring up that story again. Anywho, no, they were offering her one 20-minute group session a month, and I knew TRICARE. And because they weren't offering what her developmental pediatrician wanted, it kicked us out of the school because she was in private school. If she'd been in public school, this couldn't have worked. But because she was in private school, I could go, I'm sorry, she just doesn't qualify under what the public school is willing to do. And her developmental ped was sitting there waiting to tell our insurance, you've got to make it right. So
Yeah.
she's got to have, he wanted 5. I talked him down to 4 days a week of speech because I need a life. But she also got, it was like, I want 5 days a week speech. I want 5 days a week OT. I want 5 days a week. So you want her in therapies 4
day
hours
long,
a day.
every day. Yes. Yeah.
And you also want her to take preschool in the
Okay,
morning.
the PT1 made sense since I don't know. I can barely walk that one.
PT wound up being tossed to the orthopedics, and they're like twice a week. She can only handle twice a week, like any adult, twice a week. But I had the added benefit of I had been doing it for 13 years, I think, before I walked into an IEP meeting.
Oh, yeah.
And her teacher had done fewer IEPs than I had done.
Then it's crazy. They're just not trained. And really, like some of the IEPs that I've gone through too, when you look at the goals and you look at the present levels and you look at everything, it's like, oh, she is great. She loves to do this. She is a great student. She is a delight to have in our classroom. How is that present levels when you're talking about education, right? So, and that's the majority of present levels when you're looking through IEPs. And when you look at IEPs, if you don't have good present levels, how do you make goals? If you don't have a good eligibility, a real true eligibility, how are you going to look at how you provide services? So all of those things are so important. And this is what an advocate brings into play. So when you look at an advocate, I actually had this question in my head. I didn't know what an advocate was. And I always thought an advocate was kind of like a lawyer they kind of needed to go to law school for, which is not true. That's not how it is. But your advocates should know the law. They don't have to be lawyers, but they should know the law. You know, for you to go and hire an attorney to attend IEPs, I think that you're going to be a little bit disappointed a lot of times because they are good at due process. They're good at defending and getting your case heard in court. But when you find a good advocate, they care about your child. They care about you. They care about the family. You're a little guy, you're a little girl, right? Because a lot of them, and not all of them, some of them, like me, I'm a parent. I'm a parent first and foremost. And I think that that makes an advocate, how do I say this? Like, we have that empathy. We understand where it is that you're coming from and how you're feeling. There are advocates out there that come from, sometimes there are special educators that just left and they got tired of special education and they decided to go to the other side and actually get things done. There are people that come from all over, all different things. So speech and language therapists that come in and they become advocates. And there's lots of different ways of becoming advocates, but there's not a certification. There are classes and some certifications, but you don't need to be certified. So just be careful with the kind of you're going for. Sometimes lower price is not the best.
Do a little research to make sure.
Yes.
Because there are some advocates out there who have higher prices and have the names. But if you talk to the lawyers and everyone who has a good track record, we're kind of rolling our eyes at them going, well, yeah, they make lots of money, but and it is like you said.
And then you have Amanda on the other side, right? The ones that are charging very little. And of course, they don't have a lot of experience. They come from, and I would hope that if you become an advocate that you want to help, but sometimes it's not always that way either. But I don't know.
The law does get funky.
Yes.
Because I would not suggest any parent try to figure it out because you've got the IEDA Act. I guess we're now calling it by the letters instead of IDEA, like I grew up calling it. You've got the ADA stuff that comes in, but that's covered under other stuff and not covered necessarily under your 504 and IEP, but you can bring it into your 504 and IEP when you get someone like me going, hi, I wasn't asking if the child could bring their wheelchair to school. I was telling you the child is bringing their wheelchair.
Needs the wheelchair. Yes.
The number of schools
a wheelchair, I can't walk.
I mean, unless I remember, that's the whole reason anyone would have a wheelchair.
I have also had meetings where we've gone into and they're like, well, could the child just try to a pair of glasses to see if that will cure their blindness?
Okay, that only works for my father.
And you know what I love?
And also, I grew up the spectrum blind. Technically, my father is legally blind, so he needs glasses, so he can't use glasses alongside of the...
But you also have and I'm sure you're starting to hit it, Medicaid cover certain stuff, but depending on how you get your insurance depends on how Medicaid can cover it in the school system. And the school system will try to push you towards Medicaid. And then you'll find out, oh, shoot, especially if you're I got Medicaid extended coverage and I wasn't allowed to do that. Now I've got to I have to repay all the money, but I wasn't the one who got the money. The school system got the money.
Isn't that awful? So I started telling my clients to not sign on the paperwork. No, we don't do that anymore. The other thing that I heard too, Amanda, is that as soon as you sign that on the IEP, the kids' names go into some kind of and I don't know what it is, but with the whole entire social security number just out there for the world to see, which, I'm not a conspiracy theorist here, but when you put it out there, it's probably not the best thing to have when it comes to...
Technically speaking, it's not the whole world. It's just all medical researchers who would like that information.
There you go. And you can become a medical researcher somehow. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm because people, I'm not sure I trust the CDC with some things or the NIH some days. It's they're human.
Yeah. We are all human. That's true.
I've seen some really great researchers I know accidentally leave a subject's name in a research paper when they published it.
Oh my gosh.
We are humans.
We are. And, I can say the word, but shit happens and I get it. But we can prevent certain things. But I think that the biggest thing here to understand is that advocacy is not easy. it's not something that comes second nature to people. And one of the things that happen with parents a lot of time is that the parents are so emotionally linked to the child. And so you go to these IEP meetings, and I cannot tell you how many times I would just cry. And because I wanted something, I knew that Drake needed something, and I couldn't vocalize it the way that I needed to say to them. I couldn't make them hear how important that was because I was so emotional. And what happens is that because of those emotions, because of the way we feel about our children, we can be good advocates. There's no doubt about that. But sometimes we get so involved that we need somebody else with us. And one of the great things about IDEA is that you play a role in the IEP table, right? The IEP team. Like they cannot do an IEP without you.
Theoretically speaking, they're not supposed to do it without the parents.
Exactly. That's why I put it in quotes. And if you're just listening, you didn't see me doing the quotation marks right there. But you are a part of the IEP team, right? And so, but the one thing that people don't tell you is that you can bring whoever you want to an IEP. And sometimes bringing a friend or bringing an advocate or bringing whoever you want on there, like it helps you. I will tell you, some advocates are great and they're going to do the job and they're going to get the job done. Other advocates are not going to do it. They're just going to rile everybody up, and you're going to get, you're going to hear some bad words there's just going to be a fight. And that's not usually the way to go about it with the school districts. The last few that I've worked with, I have found that really, truly, they just didn't know. And when you open up and you start asking questions and you do it in a different way, they open up to you. And at the end, they're like, okay, how should we write this goal? And I look at them, you're the teachers, we should write a goal. But, you ask so many questions that they're just puzzled, and they go, okay, how do I do that? And that means that they don't even know. They're trying their best. They're doing what's, but they just don't know. And so you need somebody who knows. And that's when you bring in an advocate.
I almost think you should probably think about bringing in an advocate, or at least getting one on retainer, so that you have someone who knows what you're doing. Because I came from within the community. I had no idea what my IEP looked like as a child. I have since tracked it down to see what my IEP is.
Halfway 1 minute.
I got
minutes. That's what I would say. I mean, we're halfway 1 minute.
But no,
22.
I literally know the superintendent, and I'm like, it's my record. I want to see it. And he's like, okay, we'll track it down, and we've got it. And I'm like, OMG, these have not gotten any better in the last 40+ years. And he's like, yeah, there should have been a few key things on here that would have made a few of my life things easier. Were they legitimate things to put on an IEP? Probably not. But do not forget, you have this student when she's in speech would have been put on my IEP.
Amanda, what's interesting is I don't know how old you are, and you don't have to tell me. But so I was just talking to my brother 2 days ago. My brother was that kid in school. He was the little shit in school, right? He got in trouble all the time. And when I say all the time, it was all the time. He got expelled from my whole entire family. We went to this private Baptist school in Brazil. We were not Baptists. We were Mormons growing up. But we went to the school, which was very, very interesting that my parents wanted us to go to that school. It made no sense. But he got in trouble every single day of his life. And back then, I don't think that people realized the issues. Everybody thought that it was a choice. Everybody thought that he was choosing to be the little shit in school, that he was choosing to not listen. And I think that up to this day, sometimes, and of course, you know, now he was late diagnosed with autism. He always had ADHD, but, you know, back then it wasn't something that really people looked for. And so anyway, besides all of that, when you look at some IEPs today, they try to still to this day blame behaviors on kids that have special needs on they want to do when they want to do this, they're going to do it. When they don't want to do it, they don't want to. And it's like, no, this is part of their disability. This is how they respond to things. And if you don't catch that on an IEP, you are missing out on a full behavior intervention plan that you should probably have to make sure that you're not getting to the behavior at the end and that things just, you know, you put things in place so this kid is not the little shit, right? Sorry, I keep saying this, but it's just, you know, that I was...
Yes, me. Just work around politicians, developmental pediatricians,
oh, no,
and
that
neurologists.
you let me around them when I was technically not non-receptive, and then none of you knew I was receptive because I wasn't given a dip.
So as you know, doctors, especially as you get to neurologists and developmental pediatricians and behavioral psychiatrists, their behind the scenes language may not be the most appropriate.
Yeah, apparently none of them knew that.
And so we didn't know she grew up receptive and she was still hanging around all of us and none of us were watching her language, because why watch your language? You're on the kid who has no ability to understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
she learned curse words.
I just think of them about those people find just couldn't understand them at 4. I apparently gay receptive at 4, and none of them never the ones who get.
No, like, so I'm 44. My first IEP was in kindergarten, and some of the stuff that I still hold against those teachers, no, they couldn't have written into an IEP, but if they'd understood how the childhood brain works, like I had speech, this sounds really stupid. And this is where like sometimes I think an advocate can come in and explain things to the school, even for the child. I had speech therapy while they were doing the letter of the week. And so every Monday we would come in with, you know, I'm old enough. We had like newspapers and magazines delivered to our doorsteps. We would cut out something that began with that letter. Everyone would tape it up on Monday. And when I was in speech on Friday, they would draw a name for which student got to take the letter of the week home. Because I was in speech, they forgot to put my name in the drawing.
Oh, no.
They didn't remember until one of my friends, like at the end of the school year, was like, you know, Amanda's never gotten one of these letters. Oh. And so then I got a pity letter that week. And Mrs. Anderson's like, oh, well, I guess you get the letter this week since we've already gone through the class and people are getting, and they were getting like doubled up letters. And yeah. And the superintendent's like, now that you're mentioning that, that might be something to put in. If you're doing something special, when you know that student is always gone during that special thing, make sure.
So one of the cases that I was working on, they actually were not sending homework home with the child because she was out of the classroom during the time that they would put all the homework in the backpacks, like any kind of the paperwork that would go home with all the gen ed kids. She was in a gen ed class with pullouts, but she wasn't there when those things were happening. I'm in the IEP and I'm looking at them and I'm like, she should be getting this. And then they look at me and they're like, yeah, she should. And I'm like, do you know how wrong this is? Like, it is wrong at so many levels. But they don't think about it. Unless you bring this up, unless you have an advocate to remind you that they have the same rights as the other kids, then it's just going to continue to happen. It will continue to happen. And I think
you get rights as a child. Yeah, she gets to hear about all the bad IEPs. But no, like, and when you used air quotes earlier on parents being involved, I don't see my parents' signature on the IEP at all. And it's like, I thought I wasn't diagnosed with dyslexia until 6th grade and being 11. And it looks like they knew in 1st grade and they were just going to hold me back until the dyslexia went away.
My gosh. So you have like the people that would just hold you back, and back then, right? They would hold back, and now it's like, just push them through. They're going to be 6 or in high school and they can't read, but that's okay, right? It's like it's how it was, how things are now. Can we find something in the middle? Can we help?
There's a fine line with dyslexia and dysgraphia, especially when you get to the more severe end, like Leta is. Yes, sometimes you have to figure out how you accommodate the dyslexia. And yeah, maybe that means she's using voice to text to write her stuff. Maybe that means she's reading on audiobooks. But even that going into, she doesn't have her IEPs, but I've been into IEPs with severe dyslexia, and the teachers are like, well, doesn't that just mean the D's and the B's and the P's and the Q's flip? And I'm like, well, you just described dysgraphia, not dyslexia. And they're like, what is dysgraphia? You just graduated college in the last 5 years. You should possibly have heard of this thing.
Have you heard college professionals? Say words for me, please.
You would like them to teach dysgraphia and dyslexia and dyscalculia.
Have you heard college professors this last century? There are too bad high school professors. The kindergarten professors, and surprisingly, the kindergarten one kind of looks, well, there's been a totally wrong in the head.
But she has opinions from hearing about all this.
I just think teachers are stupid. I'm also surprised why we keep giving them pay raises when they don't show why we should give them respect anymore. Like, I'm on the teachers because they actually had to done well learn respect.
Can you tell she deals with the bad ones? Or here's me to talk about the bad ones?
Yeah.
You heard about that Harvard grad who graduated valedictorian at her high school and at Harvard, who is suing now because she can't read or do math.
Isn't it crazy?
And that's graduating at a college level, but the accommodations, they focus and IEPs, that's another thing. I think advocates know to pick up on those behavioral issues, because some of those behavioral issues
are due to.
And some of them you don't need to fix.
Yeah.
Just live with them.
Yes.
If it's not disrupting the class. Leta had it happen at dance, but I've had it in IEPs where teachers are like, well, if the child has a silent seizure, we're going to take XYZ from them. And I'm like, hi, no offense, but they didn't decide to have a silent seizure on you.
It's
like a choice. It's crazy.
And somehow alive.
I mean,
she had, and I've told you this before, she had dance teachers who would yell at her over it. And I'm like, that's called a silent seizure, but, they're not participating in class. And then they're acting groggy and disoriented after they quit participating. We're going to need to take recess from them, or, call the school nurse because they just had a seizure in your class. Which are you picking?
Okay, if you want,
you're going to help her or you're not going to help her.
If you want to teach, corpses, you could say so. What? Cemetery. If you want to teach dead children, go at cemetery. Actually, no, I take that back. This whole sentence said cemetery might curse you for life. I'll totally take your soul.
She's heard a few.
Oh my gosh. She loves the rabbit holes.
And she gets to hear all of my really bad ones. Like I've gone into, there are 10 more 504 on it, where I've got kids with juvenile diabetes, and the teachers are like, well, when their blood sugar's low, they just need to wait till a break in the school's day to go get insulin. And I'm like, that wasn't really I'm sorry.
No, you can't time that.
And the parents get labeled as the bad parents if they're advocating the way someone like you or I can come in and be the bad guy and kind of protect the parents in a way, because we can redirect all the badness on us.
We can be the mean guys. And when I say that I'm the nice one and you're the mean one, like, I don't mean it like that I can't be me. because, oh, trust me, my type A can come out and I can be mean. I just try get to this in the beginning, like you were saying. I try to get in the beginning of the madness. And so if I can fix that, then you don't get the madness and the mess at the end. But sometimes you always start with, cooperation. And really, one thing to keep in mind that I felt for many years with my son is that sometimes it gets to a point where, as a parent, you feel like they are against you, that they're picking on your child, that because you are that parent that's asking questions, asking for extra services, asking for things, because of that, you become that parent, and becoming that parent makes you feel like you are butting heads with the district. And so it's like us against them. And so, especially when things get that way, that's when you need somebody in the middle. But so my son has a very rare genetic disorder. He's one out of like 200 and a few. I kind of lost track, but I think we're like 230, 240 in the world. When he was first diagnosed, he was one out of 40. I think he was number 42. And one of the things that I've noticed, and that I applaud the parents for doing this, is that, first of all, we're catching this earlier, right? So genetic testing is being done sooner. And so we're getting these little kiddos, like some of them are even less than 1 year old, and they are finding out that they have this disorder. And I think that genetics is coming to a place where people are finding out sooner. And so what's happening is that some of these parents are going right away and they're getting an advocate. And this is probably the smartest thing that you can do. If you know your child has a genetic disorder or anything really, like as soon as you get some kind of a diagnosis outside of school, and you know that they're going to need some kind of special education, get an advocate and start it off right. Start the IEP process in the right way. Make sure that the assessments that they're doing are the correct ones for your child. Make sure that when they do these assessments, you can get that information and develop that into a plan for your child. And start it out right, instead of waiting until your child is not making progress in any way, shape, or form to come back and say, I need help because my son is not progressing. They've had the same goals for the past 3 years. So why didn't you start 3 years ago? And I'm not trying to make a parent feel guilty because they've done this, because I have done it. And sometimes we just get scared. We don't know what it is that we're really supposed to be doing. And to be honest, like I didn't have any interactions with advocates. It was mostly speech therapists and, some psychologists and things like that. And I did what I could with what I had in my hand. But there's so much more that a good advocate can do for your child. So don't be scared. And get it started right away, because, it all goes back to early intervention, right? That is the best thing that you can do for your child, early intervention.
Advocates know the language, at least the good ones. So
yes,
they can also
59 minutes.
They can catch, she's becoming the little producer too.
Yeah, I can tell.
They can catch things like, I'll be talking to someone from a school system and automatically know they know absolutely nothing about special education or about whichever thing we're discussing, because I'm using terminology the community uses and they're not. A good advocate, depending on how much they've been in the community themselves, there are a few speech therapists that I would like to remind them that maybe they should go back and redo their ASL training, because I've had to walk away at the dance studio because I'm hard of hearing. I grew up around people who spoke it fluently in the HOH community. And parents at dance will do signs that I have to walk away because if their 3-year-old did it, it'd be like, oh, that's cute. You messed up and used the wrong word. When they're doing it, I'm like, who taught you? And they're like, oh, the speech therapist at the school taught me. And I'm like, hi, I'm going to walk away and have my like full on rolling on the floor, laughing at you moment. And then I'll come back and tell you what you just signed. Because what you just signed is not what you think you just signed. And if I didn't know you could...
It's hard not to 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds, no less things that don't need to learn size for reproducing.
No, they're assigning things that are very, very adult.
Oh, gotcha.
And
okay,
they are so close to not adult words.
Yeah, what I think means Sherry ain't mean right.
Stop there. But it is very, very close to what a little kid would say. Like, there is a very fine line between no more and something a child should not be saying.
You know how we figured out, like how we learned sign language was through, was it YouTube? I can't remember. I don't know if it was YouTube back then or whatever it was. It's like the teacher, the dancing people and Apple and milk. That's what we knew. Like, I am telling you, like, if you got anything above that, what was there, like, there was just not, I
think a few of the speech therapists may have also learned from this.
Oh, for sure. And so you get, I mean, it's really easy to get signs wrong, right? It's easy to do that.
At least everybody knows what the sign for okay is. What's your right?
I had to fix a few.
Right?
That's the sign for okay. You learned because I'm in the HOH community. A few of the parents have been signing it as normal people do, and I'm like, that is
literally just a thumbs up, and no, it's thumbs down. That's easy. I don't know. It's literally in the middle.
So this one's a funny, and it's from my childhood on teachers just don't know. One of my friends was almost completely deaf in school, and we had a long-term substitute come in. Didn't know my friend was on an IEP. Granted, this was the 80s, but I'm not 100% sure all the teachers know their students are on IEPs nowadays. And the teacher gave her the speaking world's universal sign for okay when she was handing back the test. My friend had gotten an A+ on the test. We're 3rd grade. She thought she got an F on the test because the universal sign for okay happens to be sign language for F.
Oh. Okay.
And instead of like thumbs up, which, it's this, and it's like, and she broke down crying because she was a straight A student. How dare she get an F?
Do you know what this is in Brazil?
I'm guessing it's something totally different.
It's an FU. So like it's an F and a U. That's what it is. So when they get there and they start doing the okay signs, it's actually really funny. We've gone through that quite a few times.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing is IEPs need to be culturally sensitive. I mean, they don't need to have DEI, but they need to be culturally sensitive.
Yeah. I think that and one of the things too, Amanda, we can talk about culture. We can go down the rabbit hole because there's so much there to unpack when you talk about IEPs. But parents who are here in the United States, not all of them speak English. So they're going to these IEP meetings without translators. And what is happening? How is an IEP being conducted when the parents, one, they don't know that they can ask for a translator. Number two, they're going into the meeting and really understanding maybe, if lucky, 50% of it, and then they go at the end and they say, sign here, and then they just go and sign it. So same things with the low income kids. They're like the parents have to work, so they don't go to the IEPs. So the IEPs are going to be whatever it is that the school puts down, whatever the copy and paste that they did, and that's it. So you need you need that advocate. You need that advocacy. You need to learn and you need to know, like, you need someone who knows the law.
Yeah, I've done IEPs where it's been parents who are visually impaired and they didn't bring a Braille version, or the Braille version they did was letter for letter, which is not how Braille goes. And so the parents were trying to figure it out. I mean, Braille, just like ASL, has its own grammar, syntax, and
Oh, yeah. I would never even know how to even start doing something like that, seriously. But they do. They have their own.
I've been in meetings where the parents are deaf or hard of hearing, and whoever they've brought in as the interpreter is trying to do word for word. And I'm like, do you speak ASL?
I'm sorry, what for what? Okay, or I get annoyed enough that they move their lips and do the handy hands at the same time.
Like, Leta, they're translating word for word, where there's a lot of skip in ASL.
works.
And ASL is more like, you know, it's the gist of the conversation, right? If I'm not mistaken, like it's and I'll be honest with you, this is an area that I am not scholared on.
It's its own language completely and totally. So it would be like, or when you've been in IEP meetings where they did bring a Spanish interpreter who's interpreting word for word, Spanish grammar doesn't follow our English grammar deal. So trying to understand it when all the words are out of place. But yeah, ASL, it's not necessarily the gist. It's just there's certain words that you can just drop off because you know that word's supposed to be there. But that's where it's like, at least know the culture of like ASL. If you have a deaf parent or a hard of hearing parent, bring in someone who can actually interpret, because it's the law.
So this is right on my side right here, because I'm not a meander. I can't like quote off of this stuff. But I always have it right here, and you can see that it's all marked with like my little markings of what it is and things that we need to know. This is the law. And even though it gets gray, sometimes you can get different versions and different things. But I feel like the law is the law, right? And a lot of times, and you talked about culture within the school district also happens. And they think that certain things that they're doing is the right way because it's been done for so many years. But it's not the right way. And so a lot of times I quote from here, or I read actually, because I don't quote, but I read from here because this is where advocacy comes from. Like, this was created for the kiddos that need it, for our kiddos, for our complex kiddos.
Parents don't have the time to sit down and try to figure that out. And each individual state, because you're in California, California has a whole different set of rules and regulations versus like Colorado. I am not 100% sure that we will be having special ed next year, looking at our current budget suggestions. Because I looked at the current budget and it's either all going to be Medicaid and general education and nothing else, or we're going to have to cut a whole bunch of stuff.
You know, that's why politicians like that, you know, that is something we need to really become advocates in different ways also, like by voting, by, you know, participating in communities and things like that. And that's something that I've been trying to do more of lately, because I truly believe that, I mean, we make a difference. Like, it makes a difference. We have to make a difference, and we have to look at it for the future. We need to look out for the future of our kiddos, right? And what's going to happen, really. It's scary where we are right now with all the stuff that's happening. You know, the Department of Education, bye-bye, like it's gone. So where do we go from here? Like, what do we do? How is it going to be? Is it going to be under the Department of Justice? Where is this going to go, right? Those are all things that we need to think about, and it's scary.
As someone who's been doing this at the higher everything gets effed up level, I would love for it Department of Justice. And
It
have
would
the
be
lawyers
awesome.
involved.
Yes.
Because I can tell you how many times I had Department of Ed in the office saying, hey, this is it. And I'm like, did you forget to bring your lawyers? Because the lawyers are talking now. And y'all didn't read it right. Because we would have Department of Ed go, this one is, once more, you need an advocate because you can have a 504 and an IEP because they talk totally different things. They're not related. There's a Venn diagram where they kind of overlap.
Yeah.
But
And those are things that people don't know. Like, they just don't know what they don't know. And you need to find somebody who knows what you don't know. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited that I have stepped into this role, because I see the difference that I have made through the years. I see how knowing what I know has become something that has helped a child, you know? And so it makes me happy. I love doing this. You know, it's interesting. I've been doing my day job, my medical sales career for 20 years. And I haven't been this excited about something in a long time. And this really makes me happy. And it brings me joy to know that what I'm doing is going to help somebody. And Leta is fun. And I think that she is trying to tell us that it's time
I was about to wrap it
go.
up. She's like, you have been talking. I am so excited you're in this arena now. I think we need more people like you who are advocates because they love helping other people. Where can people get in touch with you if they're looking for an advocate? Is there a certain specific state you do versus other states?
So, you know, the federal law is the federal law, and there are other state laws that need to be addressed. But California is my hometown. It's my home state. So this is where I am the most comfortable, especially in Orange County here where I'm at. But, you know, we help all over the country. We really do. And you can find me on specialeducationconcierge.com. And I am on all social media, and I've been on your podcast about 6 times. Am I winning, by the way? Did I
don't
win
know.
today?
I haven't talked to Kristen. I think you won today. But now I'll probably get a deal from Kristen going, hi, would you like to be on the show?
So anyway, you can always find me with Amanda also, because they are just amazing. Amanda and Leta. But yes, specialeducationconcierge.com. That's where you find me. You can find my Thrive information in there, my Wisdom for Complex Kids. Everything's still in there because that is the heart and soul of Special Education Concierge. But we're just getting bigger. We are just doing more right now for the parents. So...
And as soon as Autistic Wings Dance Company has that studio space with that nice little place we can have parent meetings, we're going to have to fly you out here to do an in-person lecture for everyone.
I better be the first one. So, well, at least the first 5. Let's just say that. The first 5, and I will fly out there, and I will be so excited to be there because I think that the work that you, lady, are doing is so important. And I wish that there was a place around here that did the same thing, because I think that a lot of kiddos need this.
As soon as we get our ducks in a row here, and I'm sure I've mentioned this, we are planning on expanding across the country.
Yes. And then you're going to come out here to California and Orange County, and I'm going to help you out with the stuff out here. So it will be fun.
Orange. No, for the studio, we're going to have to put this out across the country. I would like to get our studio IEP figured out before I send it out to people who do not know what an IEP is.
There? How
Orange County Tap.
No, I said how close is LA Tap Fest to Orange County?
Tap Fest, Orange County is just south. That's where we went to go get your shoes that one day.
That's what I would ask.
There you go.
And it gives you an excuse to go see your great grandma. Well, thank you for coming on. We will have you on again. Next one might need to just be IEP Central.
I think that would be great. We can talk about, there's a lot to talk about IEPs. So Thank you
could be
for
an
having
insight.
me, as always. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Bye.
Hi, it's Amanda from Leta Tap Styles and My Autistic Life. I wanted to hop on real quick because if you have been following Leta's Tap Styles, if you have been following our nonprofit, Autistic Wings Dance Company, you probably know that right now, November 2025 into December 9th is Colorado Gives Month. It is a huge fundraising effort where you can help join the wave of generosity and donate to some of your favorite nonprofits here in Colorado. We have the incentive fund that is part of this. For every dollar we raise, we get a part of the $1 million incentive fund. There is a leadership board, and the first and second place in the 3 categories, small, medium, and large nonprofits, and they get $10,000 and $5,000 respectively. There is right now, as I'm recording this on November 4th, a matching grant where if you start donating a new monthly donation of up to $100 a month, the Colorado Gives Foundation will match your first month. That means your first month, this month, actually, November, when you donate, instead of donating $20, it'll be $40. Instead of $50, it'll be $100. Instead of $100, it'll be $200, which means your money is instantly doubled. We are participating because, as you might know, Leta started a dance studio called Autistic Wings Dance Company. It's for autistic dancers ages 3 to 4. We do level 1, level 2, level 3 ASD. We've got kids like Spencer who are level 3. They have to have private lessons for reasons. He needs that. 1 on 4 Dill. 1 Spencer, 2 4 teachers. I know, amazing Dale here. 2 of them are his parents, so we're not paying at least 2 of them. Unfortunately, we have outgrown our current facility and we need your help raising $5,000 in monthly donations. I will link to the video about it below, along with to the website where to give. If you are able to give this season, we would be grateful. If you can't, we understand. If you can also, comment on our social media posts, if you can share them, if you can follow Autistic Wings over on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube to help get the message out, we would appreciate it. If this is not November 2025 up to December 9th, 2025, you can still give. The link will be active year round. It's just the incentive fund and the fun competing against each other is only active during that time frame, but your gift of any size is helpful year round. We do not charge our dancers what their classes are worth. It's costing me $290 an hour to put on classes right now. We charge them significantly less. Thank you for all of your support of Leta's Tap Styles over this past year, and thank you for all your support of Leta's dream to have an autistic dance studio and to start it here in Colorado Springs and then send it out into the world. We want to have campuses in LA. We want to have campuses in New York, in Las Cruces, New Mexico, where Leta and I are from. We want to have campuses in London and Paris and Toronto, in Brisbane, Australia. We want to have this go worldwide and there to be an Autistic Wings dance company within an hour or so drive of every dancer who is autistic out there who wants to be involved. And to do that, we got to stay nonprofit. I mean, we could make money on this, but that wouldn't be fair and that wouldn't be changing the world. That would just be making money. So if you can give this holiday season, go to www.coloradogives.org and search for Autistic Wings Dance Company. Check out the links in the description below. Thanks again. Enjoy this week's podcast.
Hello, thank you for watching the podcast. Please subscribe and also look up the adorable picture. Just like it.